All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Friday Mastermind. Something occurred to me, Todd. We used to keep track of these and we would say like number whatever.
300.
And I think it's been a long time. Any guesses on the number we have? And then Paul, if you don't mind doing some research, and by the end of the call, let's know the number of Friday Masterminds we've done.
I
But any
think
guesses?
I think we've ticked over 400. I think we've ticked over 400.
Yeah. So guys, we've been every Friday. We've been doing this mastermind. Most of the time, Todd and I are here. I think we're going to lose Mr. Bookspan because he's taking a family.
8 years, 8 years, 8 years. How many? Oh, 8. There we go. If I get my fingers right.
All right. Well, when you know the number, let us
8
know.
years.
Okay, 8 years. So we'll get a number soon though. And when we first started this, it was this whole philosophy around optimizing productivity. Again, Todd is Mr. Win by Noon. This was in the early days of founding Win by Noon, and it was like, hey, Mortgage Coach is all about improving advice with price and improving sales. Let's just productivity. And so, guys, we are moving into a new era in housing. The shift that's coming our way with the NAR settlement. We're not going to guess how many realtors will be exiting the business. We're not going to prognosticate as to what the buyer agent commission will be. But we know there's a shift taking place and a change in the process. And this is the productivity mastermind. How can we help you as an originator? If you're on this and you're a manager or leader, how can we help you optimize the efficiency and the productivity of how you enter the market and win? And so that's what this is all about. Todd, anything you want to say to frame the call before we rock it out?
I'm just fired up to be here. I mean, look at this crew that we have of pure genius today. And, I do think it's so interesting, the concerns people have, right? The whole fear around what's going on in the market. And I really just hope you all can shift your mindset away from the last 2 years and the struggles and really just start focusing on the opportunity that we have. And so I'm really excited to learn from our guests today, because I think they're going to give you some tangible ideas that you can go out there and execute on today to start filling your pipeline up, as finally what we've been talking about looks like maybe it's going to start happening, where rates are going to start coming our way and there's some refinance opportunities. And so I just want you all to be ready to rock and roll. And then, we should probably throw up at some point the link for Scriptapalooza. It's going to be in a few short weeks, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think we're gonna have a great conversation. Phil M. Jones is going to be our co-host again, and really we're going to be talking about the critical conversations that matter in today's market. So I think we're going to get some great ideas today, tips, strategies, and scripts today. But then I think we'll continue on this path over the next few weeks to help y'all snag a few more loans here and have a little better Christmas as we head into the end of this year.
Cool. And Deborah, before I bring you on, we're going to put a link in our Facebook group. I just put a link in chat. The website is up. Phil Jones is going to facilitate it. It's going to be 2 hours. It was 3 hours last year. And he said, you know what, let's have less people. He said, I want to have 6. Each one will have 15 minutes to lead a session, and very specific topics, how to get meetings with realtors, what to say when someone says, what's your rate? What's your value prop? Very, very specific things. So just know that's free. I think we had 3,000 sign up last year. We're looking to break a record and have over 3,000. So please sign up today and also share a link with anyone. Deborah, before I start bringing in the special guest, anything you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, the loan officers that I'm talking to, they're pumped. They're excited. Like, they're not scared with this NAR settlement stuff. They've been putting in the reps. They've been tuning into these calls. They've been practicing and role playing that this is an opportunity. And to me, this is where the best of the best and the ones who actually give great advice, maybe not just say they give great advice, but actually give that advice. It allows them to go after these agent partners who need them more than ever. So I'm pumped. I'm fired up. It's my birthday month. It's Scott's birthday month. It's Ryan's birthday month. Like, this is like blood in the water. And if I'm a shark, it's like, it's go time, baby. But we're pumped.
Yeah, no, Yeah, and I've said it before, Tom Ferry, the #1 coach in the real estate space, is what he's telling realtors is this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And so with that said, I'm going to kind of bring on each guest, but Scott, I'm going to bring you on last just because I know you're going to really be the facilitator of the conversation. I'm going to start with Ryan Grant. Ryan, thank you for being willing to make time to jump on. I know you and I are going to be doing a call on another topic soon, but I think most people in this community know Ryan. I mean, he's, well known as one of the top mortgage advisors and team leaders in the country. And now he's become really well known as the co-founder, co-creator of Neo. Just a great brand in the space, a tremendous trust engine client. And really, I've always thought of you, Ryan, as an industry innovator who's dedicated to really helping consumers build wealth with real estate in the most efficient way possible. Anything you want to say to frame the call before we let Scott kind of lead a process?
I think you guys framed it up very nicely, that this is much more of an opportunity than it is a challenge or a problem, right? I think that we hear people saying we need to overcome objections and obstacles, and we need to, this is going to be a problem or an issue. Those are all just green lights, right? They're just opportunities for people to stand in a space of confusion and chaos and say, I have the answers, and not only are they relevant, but they're valuable. And now, Tim and I had the opportunity to do that in his hometown in Cedar Rapids a couple of weeks ago, and you could tell that the audience was ready to hear it now. Before it was a lot of, I'm not sure it's going to happen, and then it's going to happen, but it's not going to be a big deal. And now it's 2 weeks away, and people are like, okay, how am I going to be the real estate professional of the future? How am I going to navigate this? And, I think that I'm really excited and proud of the game plan we put together. I absolutely love what Lender Marketing Platform is doing for this space. Deb has been incredibly helpful, and obviously Trust Engine is going to be an incredible game changer when it comes to helping our agents actually do what we say we want them to do, which is be proactive advisors and guide their families that they serve to a better, more sustainable financial future. So I'm super excited for the call today. So thank you guys for having me here.
Cool. And then we have Tim Land, who is a producing manager in the state of Iowa, what's kind of unique and special about that is that they started rolling out the NAR settlement in, ahead of schedule. Like they started doing it early this month. And so I interviewed Tim several weeks ago. Super incredible interview. It's kind of a part 2. So if you got a lot of value from this and you really want to, hear more details on how Tim is helping realtors, do value proposition workshops, we did a whole call on how Tim Lamb is doing that. Tim, since then, you did a big event. I think you had 117 realtors in a pretty bitchin' room. You had Ryan Grant fly out and be one of the keynote speakers. How you doing, bro?
Doing great, Dave and everybody on the panel here. I just want to give one piece of encouragement right out of the gate. Is in Iowa, we started July 1 with this buyer's agreements. And my conversations in June with all of the agent partners was kind of what Ryan was alluding to was, we'll worry about it later. It's going to happen, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. And then July 1 came, and now they're actually putting it into practice, right? They're having to conversate about this buyer. The conversations with me as a loan officer were completely different. Now it was, we're kicking it can down the road. Maybe it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to impact us. Now it's oh, this is legit. This is real. Now they're reaching back out to me as their lending partner saying, hey, how do we navigate that? So I want everyone on the call today to be, if you're the loan officer that's having those calls and the agent's kind of kicking it down the road, just know you're super valuable. Have the conversation today, because they're going to be coming back to you after this actually comes into play, and they're going to be okay, it's real. We need to have a serious conversation about how we partner together, how we can leverage all of the tools that we're going to talk about today. So just keep doing what you're doing, guys.
Love that. And Ken Watson said you rocked him, so you got a fan in the audience, at least one. Remember, guys, let's make this interactive. Put your questions in chat. We'll get to those. use these reactions as the call goes on. It's always great to get hearts, thumbs up, applause, etc. So Scott, I really want you to lead this conversation. Scott Nicholson is no new guy to the community. I've interviewed him a lot as a top producing mortgage professional. He actually has created, provided a lot of influence in how MortgageCoach has evolved over the past, decade plus. Today, he's going to be on the call as the founder and CEO of Lender Marketing Platform, which is a really cool technology that is helping realtors and loan officers be better advisors. I love how our platform, MortgageCoach and Trust Engine, integrate into it. So Scott, this call was your idea, and what Tim's doing. You kind of have a roadmap that you want to share. How do you want to frame it? And then I'll really let you take over, and myself, Todd, and Deb will chime in when we have something to say. But I really look at you as kind of the guest facilitator here.
Yeah. Well, thank you and welcome. It's nice to have Tim and Ryan and the usual suspects, Deb and, and everyone, and Todd. But I called this because we're here. It's not the 15th we start. And here's what's really interesting. I had an LO call me yesterday and say, hey, Scott, I really need to get dialed up. I haven't been paying attention because the clients that come in today are going to go under contract probably when? 17th, 18th, and after, meaning they even the LO and the buyer agent haven't even have a conversation to where if we're past implementation, then how do we structure it? What if the listing's an EXP listing where there is no compensation provided? What are the options to do that? So the LO who hasn't started, you're behind. And that's why I wanted to create this call to where, okay, no more talk, no more theory, no more guessing. Let's bring Ryan on. Let's bring Tim in. Tim's 30 plus days already in Iowa, but let's get you prepared. Literally, when you hang up from this call, you're ready to go. And so we're going to give you the tools, the scripts, everything you need to have a conversation with your buyer today that comes in your office that starts the qualification, but also bigger picture, all the agents that really need your help. And one of the things I'll be calling, some of you in to the presentation I'm going to give, like Tim. I want Tim's insight, if you haven't heard it, from what is happening the last 30 days in Iowa. What he's find out, how prepared are they? What are things that he's pivoting? And then Ryan's expertise in the industry and leadership also. So with that, I prepared a deck, and I actually prepared a theme, which I'm going to share with the theme that sets this up. And it's really, without sharing my deck here, I will in a second, this is the modern day of Who Moved the Cheese. This was a book that was brought to me from Tom Bass back in the day. I remember we had just stacks of these books in the corner, and we were running Who Moved the Cheese back in the early 2000s. And I got to thinking as preparing for this, shit, this is all this is. And it's a sweeping adjustment for everybody. The ones who are panicking don't know where the cheese is moved to or have no idea how to get to it. And this call is, I want to prepare you guys to go find that cheese, so to speak, if that makes sense. Is that far out there on that analogy? No, makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to get into it.
I'm good with it.
All right, cool. Let's do it. So I'm going to share my deck, and then we're going to get into this. So let's go here. You guys see my deck all right? All right.
We do.
So as I said, the NAR settlement is just really the modern day Who Moved My Cheese. And so let's take cheese out and let's insert commission. And so today, moving forward, it's in helping our agents, helping our buyers is who's moved our commission, right? And how we get there. And I think what's critical with this is we, as mortgage experts, are going to be a huge facilitator in how they help them locate it, how we're going to get there, help them get through this adoption. So it's a big, big deal. Most of you probably realized. And then our goal, like I said, and just to reiterate here, I'm going to give you exact tools. So I didn't want to just talk and just have conversations in that. I'm giving you stuff. I'm giving you personal stuff. I'm giving you all the things that I've built. I've been working on this for months. I've been training in not only in NEO, I've been training in LMP. So we've been doing this for months and months, preparing for all of this. And so with that, let's focus on the 3 things that we can control. I'm not a guy to worry about, like, I don't care, let it adjust. I'm not going to worry about it. But what can I control now? Really, there's 3 things in this ever evolving compensation. Number 1, we know we need a buyer broker agreement period to start. A consumer and a buyer agent needs that in place. Do you agree? Number 2, the removal of compensation from the MLS. That's a fact, and it's happening. Actually, it's happened in, I think, Jersey and Pennsylvania. Some states are implementing it already. Tim has not gone to this stage. I think he's going on the 17th, which he's going to talk about. And then also something that, if you didn't know, is this is a big shot across the bow that you need to plan for, is EXP is not offering buyer compensation. So that's a big deal. Just because it goes away in bullet point 2, and then there's the removal of it, it's really going to put the experts in place like us, showing them the options and how a buyer agent gets compensated. So there's the 3 things, and it's going to really lead to 3 things that we should be focusing on to help those. Number 1, a buyer agent really needs us for buyer presentations, and I'm going to show you that. Because they are not prepared. We're going to hear Tim talk about how ill-prepared a buyer agent really is. And what their main focus is today is filling out forms and adjusting to a form that they just released and updated and so on. What they're not prepared is for those living room conversations to come in when the tough questions start to come in from their consumers about real life buying situations. Number 2, open houses. This is the new front line for listing agents. And there's really 2 front lines. One is the buyer's living room for a buyer agent. The other is an open house. And what I mean by that, when you remove commission and or an agent from, let's say, a certain realtor is not providing compensation, which I think is going to be the wave of where we're going to eventually go into, they want you to negotiate. The open houses will be the front line where an LO can really facilitate education, value propositions, structuring, all of that. It's going to be a huge opportunity, not only for us to help listing agents, but also if there's buyer agents running it, we're going to get into that into detail. Offers. This is something that we've been doing on our platform for 3 years at a really high level. And when I saw NAR, I'm like, man, how difficult, and this is the move the cheese right here, how difficult is it going to get hold of a listing agent, but articulate how you're structuring the file based on just your normal loan stuff, but then on top of if you need concessions, on top of how you had to rearrange the sales price and protect it with an appraisal gap. An email is not going to work with a couple links. You making a phone call, those who make phone calls to listing agents starting the 17th is no longer going to be successful. They don't have time to answer your calls. They're running calls from the buyer agents asking for compensation if they're going to divulge it. So those are the 3 areas I want to focus on and get you prepared for. So the first one is the buyer agent. And I'm going to pause right here and I'm going to ask Tim just to do kind of an overview of, he kind of alluded to it as he started in June and as they moved in July and all of the agent presentations you've done. So my question is, how prepared did they think they were? And then now they realize maybe they're not. How are some of those details coming about?
I think there is a kind of 2 camps here. There was the first camp that was, I'm just going to kick this down the can. I'm not going to worry about it. And then there was the other camp that's like, okay, I got to figure this out. So I'm prepared and I'm practicing and I'm knowing what I'm doing going forward. Right. So we got 2 different camps there as part of the process goes. Most buyers agents that I've talked with don't have like a physical presentation that they're giving to their buyer clients and talking through that conversion. They just don't have that. They built that out. So that was a lot of the conversations. Like, I need to build my presentation. I need to build my tools, because what I think is happening previously, it was hustle over value, right? It was like, I'm going to get you to the house. I'm going to open the door. Then I'm going to build a relationship, right? You're going to get to know me. We're going to spend a couple hours doing tours, and we're going to build that trust and that value at that point. Now that's completely opposite. I can't open the door. I can't build that relationship with you until I show you some value and be able to position why I'm the natural agent to choose. So a lot of that conversation has been about phone calls, appointments, conversations, presentations that most buyers agents don't have, Scott.
Yeah. And so, and what's really funny, I really encourage you to listen to his first call when he came in here, the NAR, Tim and I, we did it together, was how he started that workshop, how he started that presentation. And he asked him simple questions on the 5 bullet points, which I think is hilarious, which I think is brilliant too. And what the whole room realized is they all had the same stuff. I can negotiate. You know, I may have a pocket listing here or there. And it's really nothing that's going to help them convert in that living room. So here's our focus as financial planners, right? We need to help them structure, you know, and answer these really difficult questions they're going to have, right? And give them the value propositions they're going to need, which they don't know how to do. That's why I always see agents, you know, hey, rates are down to, 5% or whatever they're lying through their teeth, because that's the only value they have as far as financial. But what happens when the compensation isn't provided, when value doesn't come in, when the affordability is still not there? How do we stand out in the marketplace? So these are the 4 questions that I've come up with. I'm going to share that these are the questions you ask if your buyer agent, let's say, is Deb, and like, hey, Deb, are you prepared? Scott, I'm prepared, good to go, ready to go. And says, okay, can I ask you a few questions maybe just to see if you are, especially with financials? And I'll show you the questions I would ask Deb. 99 out of 100. Oh, didn't think of that. Right. You're right. And so we're going to get into some of that stuff. And so now here's the interactive part. I want you to pull your phones out. So I want you to pull your phones out. I told you this would be very tangible, something you can take away from here. I want you to scan this. And what I'm going to dump on this is going to be a buyer presentation. It's a sample. I pulled my personal information off. So it's a sample, and this is actually what it's going to look like. Here's the true collaboration. You have your agent doing whatever they're going to do. If it's a Canva deck or keeping current matters, we're going to anchor that and support that in the living room, because that's our first objective. How do we help our agent partners convert the living room conversations into signed buyer broker agreements? Does that make sense? Ryan, what are your thoughts so far? Is where the LO is, what conversations are you having with loan officers? That are they actually going into the market? How successful are they doing, in kind of the framework that we've laid out already?
I see a lot of paralysis amongst the industry, unfortunately, where people just, don't necessarily know how to help solve the problem. And, we're seeing a lot of verbiage change, but not a lot of action change, right? Like the real estate agents are saying, well, I'll just call myself a real estate advisor as opposed to a real estate agent. And that will, that'll help. It's like, well, what do you do that's different? Right. And so, we've broken down to the real estate professional, how we help a client in 3 really unique areas, right? And each of the areas has a percentage of value. So if Deb is my client, I'm going to say, Deb, I want you to know that, this would be my script, right? I think paying 3% commission to a buyer's agent who's going to help you for the next 30 days on this transaction is probably too much. Right now, we've been able to do that for some time because the seller paid it and because, it was just industry norm. But we believe that any commission you pay us, right, the 3% that we earn, I want you to know that it is not for 30 days worth of transactional guidance. It's for 30 years worth of proactive value that we are going to help you become a much more successful homeowner, right? We're going to help you in every step of the way to grow your generational wealth. And if we break down our value proposition, it's into like a pie. About 30% of our value to you, Deb, is going to be how we're going to help you before this transaction ever starts. And this, Scott, this is what you're talking about right now, right? The buyer presentation, the consultation, the analysis, the motivation, the understanding. We're going to help you get an offer accepted at a higher percentage, right? So you're not going to have to write offers and lose out to other clients. We're going to help you save money on the price of the home. We're going to help you navigate the commissions and how that's, if it's paid by the seller or not. Our financing team is going to help there. So there's a lot of ways we're going to help you before the transaction ever starts, but it's only about 30% of our value. Only about 10% of our value, Deb, is actually during the transaction. Right? Because any real estate agent can help you during the transaction. Any lender can help you during the transaction. There's not, other than good customer service and helping you, experience the joy of becoming a homeowner, right? We're just going to make sure that part is done well, but that's really not where you should see a ton of our value. 60% of our value, and the majority of the reason why our clients choose to work with us, right, and why they completely understand how this commission is well worth it, is how we help you after the transaction closes. And when we broke that down to the agents at Tim's event, Tim, how many people reached out to you afterwards to talk about that?
If it wasn't the number one takeaway, it was the second takeaway. It was like, I've never been able to articulate my value throughout the entire transaction. And being able to say that value is broken down, I've had people like build presentations around it now. Like, I got to build a presentation around talking about how my value is positioned before, during, and after the transaction. So, and it was one of those deals in the back of the room as Ryan was talking, it was kind of like these agents kind of like leaned in a little bit more and like a little bit more focused, because we were talking about how they can position themselves to win in today's market. So it was tremendously valuable.
Yeah. And there's, I don't know how many different PowerPoints now that say 185 ways realtors help, 184 ways realtor help, 700 ways realtors help. And what we want to help our agents do is we want to help them put the 4 to 5 things on whatever list they have that no other agent can put, that are truly valuable, that aren't just expected of a real estate professional or a mortgage professional. Right. And, Scott, what you're building here is one of those things, right? The post-closing, there's 2 or 3 things post-closing that most agents cannot say with any actual belief, because they know they couldn't execute it. Right. And that's how we're going to help our agent partners stand out, right? Is that they're going to have things on their list that nobody else can. And those are going to be the most valuable things on that list.
Yep. There's a reason why Ryan's here. He just told you it. That was awesome right there. I'm going to go back and let's replay that again and again. So that was really good. Thank you, Ryan and Tim.
And real quick, I want to ask a question, and I'm going to push a poll too. And I want to have each one of you guys answer this question. So let's flash forward a couple weeks after August 17th. What percent of the time will a buyer who's making an offer on a home know if the seller is going to pay for the buyer's agent's compensation? So I have just pushed this poll question. Do you think it's like less than 20% of the time? And yeah, no, they'll know. Do you think it's like 50-50? Some will know, some won't. Or do you think more than 80% of the time when an offer is being made, they will not know whether the seller is paying? And guys, I know how many people are on the call. I know how many people have taken the quiz. I would love to get a statistically valid number here. So right now I've got 31% of you have voted. Once I get north of 50. So Scott, how would you have answered this? What?
Yeah, I see. Well, if it's an EXP agent, it's 100%, right? By the time 17th rolls around, more and more leaning into,
and no one can change their vote, by the way. Don't change your
EXP.
votes.
I think it's 50-50 right now, and I think it's going to work more towards 100. DOJ gets involved, it's 100.
Ryan, what's your bet?
Yeah, it wouldn't let me vote, but I put 50-50. And I think that will play out more in the sense that the buyer will be making more blind offers, because that's the spirit of, this whole thing. And so, Scott, I haven't heard the EXP thing. Does that mean that if you're an EXP listing agent, that you have to tell the seller that you're not offering buyer commission? Is that like a company stance?
Yep. So they as a listing company are going to follow the true settlement to its form, meaning, well, if you can't put it on the MLS, then why are we providing it at the source, right? So because it's steering, collusion, all that, again, it sets up for the secondary lawsuit. So they've, as a company, have taken the stance like, hey, we'll list your house, but you can pay commission, listing agent, but the buyer has to negotiate that with you. We're not going to tell them you're paying 3%.
Time out. So I think just to Jill's point, I think what I heard and what I've read is that EXP just will not be disclosing it. They will be making a policy that our agents won't be disclosing it. And by the way, I've interviewed a lot of top realtors, and that is their position. And personally,
Yeah.
if I was a listing agent, why,
Yeah.
hey, make your best offer and we will consider all options. So like, to me, from a negotiation perspective, why and that's all I'm talking about, whether will the buyer be making it blind or not? And so, by the way, here is the result. Oh, Tim, before I show the answers, how would you have answered this, Tim?
This has been a ever-changing topic from June to July, now getting into August in the state of Iowa. Like, we're only gonna show properties that show this commission. Well, we really can't do that because now we're steering because we didn't do this, and I'll put this together. So how do we do that? Now the listing agents are like, well, if I negotiate my fee, then why am I going to tell you what we're willing to pay, right? So to Scott's point, I think a lot of these offers I put above 80% are going to go in blind, not knowing what the seller's going to cooperate. But it doesn't mean the consumer is going to be blind, because if we're doing a great job as a strategic partner for the agent, they know potentially what the options are going to be, right? How are we structuring the financing? How are we offering it? What are we negotiating into it? So they're not going into it blind. We just don't know what they're going to accept. It's going to be negotiated.
Okay. So Todd Bookspan, how did you answer, or how would you answer this? And then Deborah, what about you?
I was probably way off, but I was thinking less than 20% would go blind, because I thought the buyer's agent would be calling the listing agent prior to submitting the offer.
Well, they will, but if you were the listing agent, why tell them? Why not? Hey, we're accepting all offers. Put your best offer in, and we'll let you know.
Well, I think the same reason, why do you tell them? Why does the listing agent ever say, like, any of what matters most to the seller to get the highest and best for them? Like they want a lease back, or they're really trying to close quick. So make sure you submit an offer.
But it's a seller's market. Okay? I mean, I think, and from what I've heard from the best, if it's either, let's just say, a house that's not priced right and they're begging for offers, then they might disclose. But if it's priced right and it's a multiple offer type property, I think it's going to be 80% or more. So guys, this is what the audience said. So Deb, you were in the majority. 36% agreed with you.
Look at that.
33%.
Gotcha, RG.
Yeah, 33%.
Whatever.
Say it's 50-50. And then the majority, which, by the way, it's 31%, think it's going to be here. And again, I think it will start off 50-50-ish because we don't know what to do. But I think it will trend here. And then if the DOJ does get involved, guys, it's going to be 100%. Like so guys, first of all, everyone on this, you just got a lesson to think about. And I want, for the rest of this call, to really be thinking about planning for it 80% of the time. And now it's your job as a loan officer to help get that consumer super excited about buying a home in this market, prepared to win in a multiple offer situation. That is the type of pre-approval experience you need to deliver at scale. At least that's my leadership. That's my position. We got another 25 minutes. Back to you, Scott.
Yeah. So I think what's really important is 60-something%, half of the properties you're going to be looking at, you won't know. That's a lot. And think about, if the client's not educated, how fearful a customer is going to be on buying real estate, knowing if they got a poor education in the living room at the initial consultation, that they could be writing a check for $21K, and it's going to set up my next presentation here on my slide. It's listing agents. So how many are going to do a poor job as a buyer agent articulating the options the consumer is going to have moving forward on writing offers on 66% of the inventory they're going to see, going blind? that's the challenge right there that we're going to solve. And so that's why I think setting up shop at an open house is paramount. It's almost creating like a team environment with the listing agent and his or her team. And here's why is if Deb was the consumer and she was not articulated to on her options through her mortgage coach TCA and what they have, is she going to sign that buyer broker agreement? No. She's going to show up at the open house. And Tim, I'm going to ask you the question. The second part has happened in Iowa. One is not being prepared, but what was the ramifications of a not prepared buyer agent? What is happening with listing agents? So I'll just pause there. So I just asked you the question. So what are what's happening with listing agents now in Iowa with ill-prepared buyers?
So had multiple conversations with more buyers agents where leads were coming into them on a listing call, on a Zillow lead, where realtor.com, whatever it is. And the buyers agents, not quite having their script reading dialed in yet to get that explanation of why the buyer agreement piece is needed to see the property. And the potential buyer client just says, can you tell me when the next open house is? And I'll go directly to the open house, check out the open house without signing this agreement, so I'm not committed to you. So the open houses, we've seen an increase in traffic on those types of things with unrepresented buyers going to the open house to test that out, to test the water, get their education, and the listing agents are starting building more relationships in that open house.
So there it is. So if you did a poll, like how many buyers are going to be properly educated with options, and financial options in particular, not 117 bullet points like Ryan mentioned earlier. It's really, here's your financial decisions moving forward, a lot. That's why listings are going to be huge. So not only as far as education, but imagine what the listing agent's going to look like as far as communicating out to buyer agents, to consumers, to lenders that are calling in about their client and they're approved and all of that stuff. It's going to be a huge opportunity. Ryan, you started your career in open houses in a way. You tell some incredible stories on you were just thought you're all that, or tell us the quick story on you starting your career on open houses.
Well, I first didn't know how to get business. So I said, where do I get business? They go talk to agents. And I go, where are agents? And they said, just go to open houses. And so I was going to go, and I had 3 of them all mapped out, and it was a Saturday, and I printed out a bunch of flyers and like the archaic version of LMP back then in 2011. And I didn't go into any one of them. I pulled up to each one and I left because I was scared and nervous and didn't want to have them shut the door in my face and didn't know. I told myself so many stories that they didn't want me there. And then over time, as I saw the value that I could create, I would then start to walk into open houses and say, like, this real estate professional is lucky that I'm here. Not because of pride or ego. It's because I genuinely believed that I could impact their business and help their clients because I saw and I've experienced doing it so many times before. And that's what I would encourage you all to do here, right? Like, I don't care if you've never been to an open house before, if you've never kind of cold opened a realtor, if this is going to be your first time, if you use this platform, right, and you have this information, they want you and need you there. They may not know it, and it's up to you to help them see that, right? Because what they're used to is, lenders showing up, dropping off a business card, asking them to take them to coffee, trying to just get a deal and bringing no substantive value. This is definitely different, right? And if you do it right, you can become the preferred lender for almost, every retail property on the market. The same way that you would be for a builder, you can do it for resale. So, this would be the same strategy I use today. I would just have better technology, better tools, and a value proposition that I absolutely know they need.
Yeah. Awesome. So think of that. The agent's lucky I'm here. What was that? What was that?
Yeah.
I can't write it down. Look,
Yeah,
think of that
lucky I
mindset
showed
walking
up
in.
today. Yep.
You know what, Deb? You're lucky I'm here for you right now. Let me show you why. Tim,
You don't say it
real
that
quick.
way, but you think it.
Well, yeah. Although, I know what you meant. But Tim, tell me about the open houses you've been popping into and what's the feel or what's going on as far as some of those open houses right now.
Ryan shared this multiple different times, but we solve all of the problems that the agents have. Like, and that's a very bold statement to say, but anything that they come across, they need us in order to facilitate that transaction, right? As Ryan says, you really don't need a real estate agent to put this transaction together, but you definitely need a mortgage professional, because without the money, we're not going anywhere in this transaction, unless they're paying cash, obviously. So the value in these open houses are tremendous. And guess what? I've just asked the open house, if I know the agent or don't know the agent, I'm just like, how is your lender creating a competitive advantage for you to get this offer accepted, to work with the buyers, to convert? And they're like, competitive advantage? What are you talking about? And then we roll into some of the LMP presentations and some of the options that are available out there. Just have a great opening line to get them started. And then obviously you've got all this open house stuff that's dialed in, which is fabulous. The challenge is a lot of the agents aren't great at open houses either, right? Like we can partner with them to help convert those people that are coming in unrepresented. And it's going to be a gold mine for all these people that are like, what's going to happen is the borrowers here are going to be left behind because the agent isn't great on the phone to have that conversation. And then they're going to go, I'll just go rent another house, right? Or they're going to go, I'm going to go find another open house, and maybe it's a great agent, maybe it's not. There's going to be borrowers that are going to be like, I'm out of here because I wasn't given great information.
Ryan.
You know, as you were talking to him, I made me realize like there's going to be, as we know, in any industry, there's the 80-20 rule. In real estate and mortgage, it's like a 95-5 rule. But there's going to be some not great real estate professionals that are talking to a buyer, and they say, hey, in order for me to go show you this home, I need you to sign this document that states that you might have to pay me $15,000 if the seller doesn't, right? And you might have to pay that out of pocket. That buyer is going to say, no, thank you. I need time to think about this. I don't want to commit to that now. And so what are they going to do? They're just going to go to open houses alone. More and more, they're going to show up to open houses or call listing agents because they've been turned off or afraid that they have to commit to something. And that whoever's sitting at open house, which oftentimes is not the listing agent, sometimes most of the time it's a buyer's agent on that team, they're going to have to know how to handle that client coming in cold, right? And that's where we solve that problem. And we just need to expect that to happen more and more.
That's exactly right. I'm going to go back a slide. So when I get into the open house sample you guys can take today, so that listing agent, so the two questions I'm going to ask a listing agent. No, one question I'm going to ask Deb, the listing agent. Deb, here's a question if I'm going to work with you this Saturday. Where's your stance? Are you dual agent or you have a buyer agent team in place? What do you have?
Buyer's agent team in place.
Okay. So what do you think I'm going to put in my listing, guys? Those who didn't scan this already. Do you think a buyer presentation for her buyer agents is a critical presentation? A full blown, which I've already showed you. You think that living room buyer presentation is applicable in a listing, open house? Absolutely, because Tim Lamb, buyer agent, who's running the open house for Deb, listing agent, he wants his stuff, and here's his value right at the seller's living room now. So streamlined communication, educating buyers, loan structuring, buyer education, which I just said, and then buyer agent presentation, which I just said. So you're going to need all of that. So if you were to open your phones up, I'm kind of watching our time here, scan that. I'm going to dump an open house on your phone for you so you can see it. Also, tell me this. Think about the tools and technology you use currently. Tell me another tool that can get your MBS Highway or Dave, MortgageCoach TCA or video or BombBomb or Loom or anything or buyer presentation or other listings on it. There's nothing out there. That's basically why I built this thing 4 years ago. And think of how this sets up for NAR sets you guys up like it's a field day at open houses. Last component. This is a really important one. This is the vision I see for listing agents. Trying to run their clients, trying to run their open houses, trying to return phone calls. Geez, we're paying if they're saying it, we're not offering compensation, stop calling, or we're offering 2.5, whatever their stance is. So digital offers is critical. Then I'm going to tell you something, a personal thing, and I'm going to show you a personal stat and share you kind of a personal story. Ryan can actually, some of you don't know, I work for Neo. Ryan can actually pull my numbers right now. And if you were to look at my loans I funded, guess how many seller just flew out of my head. Concessions. How many
Concessions, right?
concessions I needed from the company? Zero. Zero, guys. You know why? How many offers have I won this year that I submitted? 100%. And you know why? All that is education and then delivering and getting and winning the transaction. So everything sets itself up for here. You've done a phenomenal job. You're structuring the loan. NAR is making this listing agent super, super busy. Then all of a sudden, and think about this, everyone a loan officer right now, what do you do in your process starting the 17th when the listing agents look like this? If your process is, oh, I put an email together with a nice little bomb in there, I slide my little TCA link in there, and I make a phone call. Do you know what the success rate of getting hold of that listing agent on the 17th is? I've only talked to one in probably 3 and 4 years that have picked up their actual phone. There's my watch. So how important is loan structuring in the offer? Critical. How important is compensation structuring in here? We're going to inflate the price 21 and to get 21 structured correctly. And then here's our loan and how we're structuring it. We need 5,000 in concessions. Here's an appraisal gap. What do you think the listing agent's head's going to do? What the hell are you talking about? Right? That's like a foreign language to me. So imagine dropping that, a phone call, which goes to voicemail, and then dropping that on her cell phone. Guys, this is called moving the cheese right here. This is moving the commission and how we win. So if you scan that, I'm going to put a digital offer on your phone. So imagine you being listing agents, and I altered it a little bit just to take some personal stuff off. But that was an offer right there. I took his full name off. It's and the client's full name off, just so I can show you guys. That's what I deliver to every single listing agent. So they know how I'm structuring it, what I've done, everything. And think of how NAR added that level of complexity. And Ryan said earlier in here, this is where the opportunities start to shine. This is part of the value proposition in the living room. Because now I'm going to show you is what are the scripts or the questions that you guys are asking as leaders up on right here in this panel. What are you talking to your buyer agents? And here are the 4 I wrote out. This is what I came up with. And let's say Deb is my buyer agent. Hey, Deb, how prepared are you for August 17th and, implementing NAR?
I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. So I feel like we're pretty prepared.
Very common response right there. Thank you for playing with me, but that's a very common response. I go, so Deb, let me ask you a couple questions, right? So the biggest thing you agree is we're going to need a buyer broker agreement signed, right? To move forward with your clients. Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay. So let me give you 4 questions that you need to prepare for and tell me, I want to know your answers for this, that a buyer is going to probably ask you. And if you miss any one of them, it's going to probably diminish the return of them signing that. So number 1, hey, Deb, I'm the buyer now. Hey, Deb, this is great and all that stuff. And I'm starting to realize that they're not showing compensation on the MLS. I was concerned about that. So if I sign this for $21,000, your agreement here, and we go shopping and we realize at the 9th inning that they're not paying a full or partial, who pays that? Do I? What are my options? Do we pay you the $21,000 directly?
We won't need to worry about that. Most sellers are paying the 3%. If not, then we'll worry about that when we cross that bridge. I don't know how they're responding to that question.
Yeah, that's exactly how they respond. And so one, or the response is, we'll cross the bridge, I'll negotiate. Or here's the brutal one, I'll just show you the 3%ers. So imagine, agent, that you're a low inventory and you're going to take all of the onesie twosies comp and 0 comps off the market. Now your inventory got even smaller. Second one, okay, I love the strategy, Deb. We'll jack it up to 21,000 to 721 and we'll get you paid through there. But what happens if value doesn't come in? What happens if the rates are going down? I'm reading, Deb, and more buyers are going to come out. And how do we stand out against those buyer offers? And then if rates just kind of hover here, really that's a little bit for affordability, but what if they stay put? How are we addressing affordability? Guys, these are the questions. What is your plan? Add the 4 bullet points a buyer agent is ill prepared to answer, which you clearly show, and you set yourself up to show them exactly what you do. And this is what the buyer presentation, that was the first slide I went over with you guys and I put on your phones. That's the buyer presentation in its essence right there. If we're solving those problems, here's the script. I'm not going to read it all. I just highlighted it. Hey, we're all great communication negotiating with service. By partnering with the best lender in the state, we perfected the process so my compensation won't hinder your offers on homes with limited or no concession. Unlike others, I want to ensure you can buy any house on the market. Guys, imagine an agent that you set them up, you gave them, helped them through that, and then you enabled them with that script. That's a huge differentiator in that living room to where I'm going to show you how to pay that options. I'm going to show you how we're going to win those offers. I'm going to show you how to protect that offer with an appraisal gap. And I want to be the agent that shows you all inventory, not just a limited selection of inventory. And so I'm going to show you results. This is something I played with just the other day. I'm not a big social media guy. If I was, I'd definitely hire plug and play. But so I did this, you guys can go into any group you want and you hear all these little stupid, things going up. So look at the question here. This is a buyer agent asking his group, are you offering a realtor? This is a text to a listing agent, buyer agent to listing agent. Are you offering realtor commission? Question. The response. You can add a commission to the price if you like, but the seller is not paying a commission. You know the responses were like on that post? Listing agent did a shitty job. They should have negotiated that up front, right? You should have done, lots of different deflective responses. And if you can see that, let me just blow it up a little. I can't see it. But here's my response. As a lender, we show buyers how to structure offers that when a seller's not offering compensation, education options are critical. No comp, partial, da-da-da. There's 200 likes. They turned the comments off on the post, but before they did, I pushed him. It goes, Scott, where's the link? I want the link. And I showed them my buyer presentation screenshot, not the link. I pushed them to the DM. So there's 270 DMs in there now. Can I get the link? This is awesome. Can you share the link? And then I started texting the link to them one by one. And it just shows you how ill-prepared our industry is from their side. Then here's the quick results of that. 5 Zooms, 2 office Zooms, 250 counting DMs, 200 likes, and 60 more friend requests. All from just offering solutions on compensation. So with that, I'm going to give you this and we're going to wrap up. Scan that. That is everything you need. I put it all together for you. This is a NAR toolkit. This has how to build a TCA. This is how the scripts and the presentation, everything you need is sitting in there. I even did a Donald Miller. I even had information on LMP and all of that stuff. So I'm going to stop. And any questions or feedback?
Well, let's stop sharing the screen.
Sorry.
Ryan, why don't you go first? Any thoughts, anything before we run out of time that you want to make sure is communicated to the audience?
I think that what you just saw is a great example of the necessity of this information to get out to the community, right? Like there was a post that Scott chimed in on and helped, not only set the record straight, but calm the waters. And he was seen as an industry expert. And that's what the best of us will be, right? We will be industry experts that are solving problems, that are making others look good, that are helping other people win. And that's just, that's the first step for us to lead generate. And then the second step is going to be, our ability to convert along with that real estate agent. And that's going to come into the before, during, and after value proposition. So I think you can use these 2 approaches. And again, if I was actively originating, which I think about every day, I would genuinely use that platform at open houses. I would talk to every listing agent that has a listing, and I would convince them and influence them that I should be the preferred lender on that property and why. And then we would convert all those buyers with our before, during, and after value proposition. And I think that it's not even a competition at that point. It's, you'd be one of very few people in the country that would be operating at that level.
Love that. And Scott gave you a link. If you want to learn more about Lender Launchpad, you can email him at scott@lender.marketing. We'll put a link. If you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be a link to contact Scott for more. Tim, any thoughts? Deborah, you be ready to do the Todd Bookspan Win by Noon Close last. I've got a few takeaways I want to make sure people got, but Tim Lamb. Oh, there we go.
My wrapped up thought here is this. This was the event that we put on. It was 103 real estate agents in one room. And I think the results of that, as I've kind of digested this whole thing, is I think the agents have lost some confidence in their ability to execute in the real estate world. This is a giant curveball for them coming out of left field. And we have a tremendous opportunity as advisors in the mortgage side of things to grab their shoulders, show some empathy, go have coffee with them, and tell everyone it's going to be all right. We have the solutions to be able to help you and your clients in today's market with technology, with dialogue, with scripting, with the before, during, and after execution that we do. The agents are currently hungry for what we bring to the table. And if you're not aggressively in the market today, talking about NAR, talking about solutions, making sure that they feel confident in how they're going to proceed forward, someone else is going to take that market share that you are not going after.
Boom. All right. So guys, here's 3 takeaways, and then I'm going to hand it off to Deb. Number 1, and I'm going to do a LinkedIn post next week on it. Stop comparing the NAR settlement to Dodd-Frank in 2010, guys. So first of all, when people get bad news and death in the family, something that's stressful, and you go, oh, I know what it's like. I remember when my dad died. That's not how you do things. You show up and you go, I'm really sorry. I want to be there for you. I want to help. So I think there's an emotional IQ issue with loan officers comparing this to Dodd-Frank. And number 2, they don't know what Dodd-Frank was in 2010, so we as loan officers know it. So don't do the Dodd-Frank, hey, I know what it's like. My comp got changed. Not stop doing that. My opinion. Number 1, guys, get really good at showing buyer agent commission options so that the buyer is clear and confident about buying now and winning in multiple offer situations. Obviously, MortgageCoach helps with that. Lender Launchpad helps with that. Number 3, get really good at doing open houses at scale, leveraging technology. Sean Herrero, when I interviewed him on Tuesday about life and work flow, he was in Hawaii with his family, and he had 20 open houses going with different agents leveraging technology. So get really good at that. Those are 2 things you need to get good at. While Deb is doing her breakdown, I want to push a poll question because I truly want to know how many people in this room are going to be supporting open houses. And just, if it's never, you're not convinced, put never. If it's whenever I have to, or, I get pushed to. If it's monthly or weekly, I want to know. Audience, vote. Deb, bring us home.
So I just want to add one bullet to your list that you gave, and it goes back to something that Ryan had said, because sometimes it doesn't matter how many tools that we have. If you don't believe that you are the best or most valuable person to serve that family or that partner, then we need to do some work so that you then start believing that you are the most valuable person. So I would say from now until Monday, do some self-reflecting and look inside and ask yourself, if you could choose any lender out there, and if everything was, even, let's take price out, whose advice would you choose? Are you giving advice that appreciates over time and is a 30-year commitment, not just a 30-day? And then start having that conversation with your partners as well, because if they don't believe it to be true and they're too scared to walk into an open house, or they're too scared to maybe start practicing some of these questions because of fear or whatever, then you've got to get to the root of that.
Boom. So guys,
yes.
and here's how y'all voted. Just so you know, actually I'm having is it sharing? So 43% said weekly. Great job. But the majority were monthly or when I have to. So plenty of opportunity for the people that are going to lean into that, leveraging technology. Guys, this has been a fantastic call. Scott, thank you. Tim, thank you. Ryan Grant, I can't wait to be on Zoom with you again, brother. Thank you for coming in and giving us your leadership and your wisdom. We appreciate everybody. Have a great weekend, everybody. This call is a wrap. If you have not already subscribed to the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, subscribe right now. Yeah, give us a little reaction, what you thought of today's call. Also, if you are not following savageinsights.com, that is my, personal place where whatever the next call I'm doing is at the top. Whatever I think is the most important thing to take action, which Scriptopalooza is towards the top right now. Check it out. And then also there's a Savage Insights mobile club where couple times a week, I'm sending out what I think is the best content via text. I will definitely be promoting this, but get on that Savage Insights mobile club. Take care, everybody. This is a wrap.
Thanks all.
Bye all.